welcome everyone. So to get started, I am going to introduce you guys to our amazing speaker today. We have Rudi Bouwer with us. Rudi is professionally qualified and experienced financial advisor and entrepreneur who focuses on lifestyle financial planning and coaching. He has extensively studied the relationship between money, psychology, and how that affects one's financial planning. He has more than 10 years experience in the financial planning industry and is passionate about financial education and the difference that it could make to one's lifestyle. Rudi, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Hi guys, this is truly such an amazing privilege for me every time to speak to such an esteemed audience. I just want to know, Jillian, can you guys see my share screen there?
Yes, we can see your whole PowerPoint.
Okay, is it, let me just open it up.
You can just share, yes.
Okay. Apologies. So as I said, for me, it's an honest, a very big privilege to speak to such an esteemed group of people every time. And truly, I don't want to pretend like I know anything more than any of you. For me, it's truly just a purpose to be able to share this information. I've been able to, I've been at the forefront of very good mentorship in my life. I've taken it very seriously. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. I don't want you guys to sit here today and feel like you are being taught anything like in a classroom setup. This is just a chat between two people. I mean, I'm alone in a room and so are you. So for me, this is truly just, I've realized that, people keep their finances very close to their hearts, and through being very intentional about how I approach my clients and people, I've realized that when you take some time to delve deeper, you realize that there's a misperception or misconception of what wealth is in people's lives. And truly, that's something that I'd like to just share with you guys today on how it is to live a little bit more sustainably, how you can just structure your life, and particularly your viewpoint on your life. It definitely starts with you, and how you can live a lot more sustainably and live in a way that bears fruit not only in your life but in other people's lives as well. So I'm not too sure whether you guys can see the full presentation or if it's just the one screen. I just want to ask.
Still see the full screen, Rudi. I think you should just put it on the
Fantastic.
slideshow
Sorry about
mostly
that.
at the top. No problem.
Okay. Is that better?
No.
Okay, fantastic, guys. Sorry about that. I was just uncertain of how the screen share is working. But yeah, so as you can see, I've asked you to grab a coffee, maybe just relax, sit back. Like I said, this is principles and lessons that I've learned over the last 10 to 12 years being in the financial industry. Particularly the last 5 years, I've spent a lot of time and energy studying the psychology and the behavior around money and why people make decisions. And that's the reason why, I've been asked to share this testimony and revelation to people because it's part of my own story. Made a lot of mistakes as a young man, starting and failing businesses and succeeding businesses, but also just living a life that is intentional and asking myself the questions on how do I live sustainably and how do I share that with people. So without further ado, I think the first question, the real question that we are all asking ourselves is, what is real wealth? I mean, there's this perception that it's many things. It can be the Benjamins. I mean, those dollars do look enticing, and to a large degree, that is wealth, definitely. But how sustainable is that? if you just acquire all these riches and you don't really understand what the true meaning of wealth is. And that's what I'm trying to just show you guys today, that there is a difference between riches and wealth, and you have control over the one more than you think. Kids education, or sorry, this surely must be the one. I mean, I would say that if there was a wealth measure that I would like, then it would be this one. I've heard that people say it's easier to cry in a Lamborghini than it is to cry in a Fiat, and I'm going to believe that. But it's definitely not the measurement of wealth, but to me, that will be the measurement of happiness for sure. Kids education would be a large measurement of wealth for many people, because it is such a privilege, and most people in South Africa don't get to the privilege of giving their kids education, regardless of their status or their wealth portfolio, or where they are in their lives. A lot of people can't actually afford this, and most people actually haven't had any formal education themselves. So if you are, and every single one of you, or the majority of you sitting here, have some sort of formal education, you're very privileged, and you are wealthy to that extent if you have that kind of education, because that knowledge is power. But if that is the only measurement and your identity is fixated in that degree, or that education that you've acquired, or the lack of that education perhaps would give you an identity of maybe thinking that you need more education, or if you feel like you would be more with education, that will actually rob you of the wealth that I'm going to speak to you about in just a couple of minutes. Retirement. I mean, this is one of probably the biggest white flags that most of us live for. We, save our portions of our money for the rest of our lives till we get to the age of 65, and then, we raise the flag and say, okay, well, what now? And a lot of people, the biggest fear that I see people have is not being able to fulfill this. The biggest heartbreak that I experience in my industry and doing my day-to-day job is seeing people come to the end of their career road, not knowing how this is going to play out for them, and not really having the answers to being able to fulfill what they've wanted for their whole life, and it leaves them completely distraught. And so if your measurement of your wealth in your life is because you're able to retire, what would that mean to you if you're not able to? Are you a failure? Were you a wealthy person? Are you a balanced person? That's the kind of questions that we can get stuck into a bit later. Travel, of course, traveling the world, a little bit restricted at the moment, but definitely a massive privilege and something that people would connotate their wealth to, spend a big amount of their wealth on. It's certainly something that my wife and I talk about and dream about constantly. So that's, for me, there's a definite something that resonates with me in the sense of, if we're not able to travel, it does make me feel like we've lost out on that wealth of knowledge and the wealth of culture, and the wealth of food and experiencing different things in life. But if that's our only measurement of our success, we're definitely heading for some sort of pitfall. So I guess you guys are seeing where I'm going with this, and I really hope that this is something that's going to resonate with you. And then your legacy. What do we leave behind? What is the succession of our life? Does it all, just end someday and then there's nothing left behind? I think it's a big fear for a lot of people that they, leave this earth and there was no stempel on who they were in the world, what they stood for. Can it go into the next generation and the generation after that? I think that's probably one of the biggest fears that men in particular face. And, that identity crisis can only be sustained if you truly know that your true calling in your life is not just about what you leave behind, but it's actually how you influence those people, your family, your friends, your immediate peers over the whole lifetime, or over your whole lifetime, and that's the point. So what's the verdict here? I mean, the question was, what is real wealth? And it's simple. These are not my words. It's somebody far more intelligent than me that came up with this. Real wealth is the abundance of time and freedom to be who you are or want to be. It gives you the freedom to be yourself, to make an impact in someone's life, and an opportunity to make a change that matters to you. So it may come as a surprise to most people when I ask them what is real wealth. When we do studies like this, the first answer, and that's why the first picture was the Benjamins. It's people say money. Wealth is money. Unfortunately, money is too fickle. It's too volatile. You can't connotate your sense of worth and being to something so fickle. You will always be left distraught. You'll always be left feeling like you can be more, because there's always someone richer than you. It's just the way that life works, unfortunately. So what I'd like to offer you today is 7 principles. I call it a guide to greatness. These are not my principles that I've come up with. It's a lifetime of wisdom that's been passed down to me through books, through mentors, through people way wiser and cleverer than me. So again, I'm not trying to teach you anything new here, but if I can leave you just with the change in perception on how you view your life and what your wealth is, then I feel like I've served my purpose here today. So the very first principle is going to be the secret of gratitude. Gratitude is going to be something that you have to practice daily. It's how you show up to your own life. When you realize that you are where you need to be, or you are where you are right now is exactly where you need to be, because that is a part of your journey and that's a part of your purpose. If you can be grateful for that, the way that you show up to your life going forward is not going to be one of lack. It's not going to be one of pity. It's not going to be one of anxiousness or depression or worry. It's going to be one of hope, and it's going to be one of truly understanding that everything that you're going through now, whether it's good or whether it's bad or whether it's tough, it's truly shaping you to become the greatest version of yourself. It is just true that diamonds are not made in comfortable circumstances. It's under high pressure. But if you can show up to your life with gratitude, you'll realize that what is in your hand right now may very well be the key that unlocks the greatest successes of your life. And that's your responsibility. No one else is going to show gratitude for you in your life. And that rule will apply to every one of the 7 principles that I'm going to give you. So please bear that in mind. Know thyself. This is probably the hardest one, because we hardly ever have as much grace with ourselves as we have with other people. But if you know yourself truly, the way you show up to life again is completely different. And I think the way that you know yourself is delving back into your past, first and foremost. It's something that a lot of us try to bury. There's a lot about you in your past that's going to tell you about who you are today. And if there's people that you need to forgive them. If there's people that you need to talk to or apologize to, I suggest doing that soon. But if you are searching to find out how you get to know yourself better, I've recently done an Enneagram. I've done all of these personality tests and aptitude tests and all psychometric testing and all of that kind of stuff. The Enneagram is one that actually really taught me a lot about myself. I then went ahead and read a book called The Road Back to You, that just explains each number. There's 9 numbers on the Enneagram, and it explains it in depth. It's not only helped me understand myself, it's helped me understand my wife and how she shows up to certain circumstances and clients. But having that information and taking the real time to know yourself and how others show up in circumstances, you'll find yourself more often than not being in a position of serving people better and not being in conflict situations because of misunderstandings. And you actually have so much control over that. And the more you know about yourself, the more you can actually grow. That's where your growth will happen exponentially, is actually being very clear with yourself what your shortcomings are and what your strengths are, and focusing on those. Generosity keeps you balanced. This is such a fundamental principle to life. And when I say generosity, I'm not saying go and give all your money to the church or to some charity. I'm particularly speaking about, again, and I've said this word quite a few times, on how you show up to life. If you are generous with your wisdom, if you are generous with your time, if you are generous with kind words, if you are generous with your smile, it changes the way that life responds back to you. Because if you are generous in that, it is just a principle that it's the gift that keeps on giving, pun intended. The more generous you are, the more life just hands back generosity to you. It's something that cannot be explained, but an open hand cannot receive, if that makes any sense to you. So if your hand is open, it can keep receiving, and the more you give, the more you will receive. It's just how it works. There's no real scientific explanation to it. It's just what it is. But keeping you balanced, what I mean by that is that it keeps your focus away from you. It keeps you focusing on what's important in life. It keeps you in a place where you understand that you need to be the best version of yourself for others. And the more you respond to life like that, the more people will respond to you like that. You'll find yourself more in circumstances where people are polite to you and friendly to you, because people can only respond to you the way that you respond to them, or give you what you are giving them. So if you're finding yourself in conflict situations quite often, or in situations where you're in misunderstandings with people, and or if you feel like people are constantly letting you down, you need to understand that you play a 50% role in that. And that's a harsh reality to come to terms with, but you actually control quite a bit of the outcome on how you find yourself in communication with other people or dealings with other people. Half of that outcome is yours. And when you are generous with the way that you show up, it's always going to lead back to you receiving a positive return. And that's just one of the most fundamental principles that I've learned in my life, and it's radically changed my life. Absolutely. Live on margin. If you were to ask me to choose a picture for this specific statement or principle, a whole bunch of people jumping out of a plane would have been the last one, but it's actually quite fitting for this particular instance. The reason being is that living on margin from a financial planning perspective, of course, we're always going to chat with you about budgeting, and we're going to, say that, you're overspending, or you need to decrease your margins, and you need to make sure that you're always living on the right amount of margin within your budget, and that there's constraints there. That's all true. But the margin that I'm speaking about here has a bigger purpose. I'm talking about the moments that you steal in your life for yourself. That margin creates, again, a way that you show up. Because if you have margin, and here's an example, if you're 15 minutes early for an appointment, the way that you show up to that appointment is that you're on your front foot, you are rested, you are comfortable, you are at ease. Whereas if you have no margin and you're 15 minutes late, or even rock up on time, you're stressed, you're on the back foot, you're apologetic. So that margin, what I'm talking about is, it's for creating a space in your life that you are marginalizing the things that are important to you, but you are also making them the important things. That you're taking the time. If you're telling people that you have no time, but you are spending time on, watching Netflix, or spending time just doing absolutely nothing, then you're lying to yourself. If there are really things that you want to pursue in your life, create small margins, diarize them to go do the bungee jump, or do the walk in the park, or read that book, or start that picture that you want to start drawing, or sing, or dance, or whatever it is that you need to find margin in your life for, and cut out the noise. cut out the noise so that those marginal moments in your life are important, and that you actually take time to soak it in and have those moments for yourself. It's super important. And I think most people go through life just telling people how busy they are, because it's almost as if being busy has become a status symbol. It's we tell ourselves this lie over and over. Oh, life is so hectic. It's so busy. It's so busy. Sure, I know. I mean, I for one know that for a fact. My life is tremendously hectic. But the more that I eat into that busyness, or allow myself to take on that identity of being so busy that I have time for nothing else, it makes me lose control. And unfortunately, the control that you lose are in the things that are important. Your relationships with your spouse, your relationships with your family, your relationship with your colleagues. Those are the things that go first when you are so busy that you don't get to anything. You are not your job. Just remember that. You are not what you do. You are you, and you have so much control. So make time for the things that are important to you and that give you purpose and that give you a sense of being and that energizes you. It is absolutely freeing, and we actually have more control over that than we may think. Passive income. This is a difficult one to talk to most people about, because people again think, how do I create passive income in my life if I've already got a job, and if I already have so much on my plate, and if I already have so much that I need to do, but I earn a salary. Salary is not a passive income. Passive income is going to be a stream of income that doesn't require you to actually do much work or any work. There are many different ways to do this. I've spent the last 10 years building a few passive incomes in my life. We've recently launched a new little business for my wife. It's called the Bohemian Artisan. She sells little baskets online, and that's become quite a passive income. But the point that I'm making, or trying to make, is that each and every one of you have your own God-given talent. You have a gift, something that you are good at that doesn't require much energy for you to actually get this task done, or it actually energizes you. So the passive income part of that could be, it doesn't have to necessarily start out being, some sort of investment that gives you returns monthly, or some little business that gives you those returns without you actually being there. I think if you haven't gone down that road, I've spent 10 years of my life already, actively pursuing passive income. And it is tough, guys. It's not going to be easy, but it is so crucial to your financial well-being, and you actually living a life free from the burden and feeling like a slave to the system and having to complete your job so that you can get a paycheck. And, it's hand to mouth kind of mentality. And it's so volatile in the sense that, you can be retrenched tomorrow, or, things can happen to you. What I'm talking about, why I'm saying that you, or alluding to the fact that you all have gifts and talents, is that if you can start a side hustle with something that is already your God-given talent, it's one of those passions that I spoke about when I said we need to live on margin. There are things that you can do that energize you, that you can actually earn an income from. And if you start being honest with yourself and start pursuing these things and asking the right questions to the right people, you'd be very surprised to see how these opportunities start presenting themselves to you. Obviously, it's going to come at a sacrifice. That means that probably you're going to have to do it on a Saturday or in the evening sometimes. But if that is your approach to it, then passive income is not going to be something that you are going to be able to talk about in your foreseeable future, because it's not something that you are pursuing. I would definitely suggest that you start reading about ways to create passive income. There are so many different ways, guys. Honestly, it has to be something that resonates with you. It's something that you have to choose, and it is something that you have to build. But it is exciting. It's something that I think has really enhanced me and my wife's relationship, because we don't spend time talking about people. We spend time talking about ideas. what's the next idea? What's the next business? What's the next thing that we can start? It energizes us, and it's something that we do together, and it is phenomenal. Now, I'm not saying that each and every one of you have to go and do that or make that something that you do with your spouse. I would suggest it because it does open up remarkable conversation points and just keeps it all alive. But in the end of the day, this passive income that I'm talking about needs to be your side hustle. It needs to be your idea. It needs to be your creation. We are all creative, and we have all been created for creation. And as soon as you realize that and know that you have so much power when you start thinking and writing down ideas and start pursuing them, it's amazing how these things and ideas start coming to you more regularly. And when you start putting action to them, that you actually start seeing viable returns. But that's in your hands. It's truly something that I think has been spoken. Warren Buffett is almost the poster boy for advocating passive income. Yet so many of his followers are people that almost swear by his advice, don't even have these passive income streams. So truly, guys, if that's something that you don't have as a part of your life, I would suggest that you start pursuing it. And the starting point for you will be your gift or your talent. If you don't know what that is, go back to point 2 and say, know thyself. Find that information, pursue that information, because the more you know about yourself, the more you'll know that you are actually specifically designed and purposed for so many different things. And that will give you a lot of freedom in your life. Seek wise counsel is the 6th and almost last principle. This has served me tremendously well in my life. I've been very, very fortunate to have incredible mentors in my life. I've joined mentorship programs. I have a very wise father. I have tremendous people in my life that I can bounce ideas off. You don't have to make the mistakes that some people have made. Some people make the mistakes, and if you ask them the right questions, because you know yourself, you will have greater breakthroughs in your life. You will make less financial mistakes. You won't necessarily go buy that car that you shouldn't have bought. You won't necessarily go make that debt that you didn't think through. You won't necessarily go buy that house in the area, that fixer-upper that you're so certain is going to be the right thing. Before you make big financial decisions in your life, seek wise counsel. If it's not a financial advisor, if you don't know how to look for somebody, search for people that you know that you can trust. Start building those relationships and be vulnerable with those people so that when you get to the point of making these big decisions, they have enough information to give you the viewpoint, a bird's eye view of your life, for you to be able to see your blind spots and respond adequately to how you make these decisions. So if you guys don't know how to, or if you don't feel comfortable sharing, vulnerable parts of your life or these decisions that you need to start making, I would suggest just going to a family member or a brother or a friend or somebody that's close and just start opening your life up to that. But essentially, you want somebody that's not that close to you, somebody that has an outside view that can just subjectively look at your life. It's that's probably where I've had the most breakthrough, because mentors like that don't spare your feelings. They tell you the truth, and they sometimes give it to you as hard as it needs to be, because people that love you tend to be soft and in the approach, tell you what you want to hear, or tell you what they think you need to hear. But you essentially want people that will tell you the truth, even if it hurts. It's very important. Then ROI, return on investment. From a financial perspective, this is crucial. Definitely, if you're in a space of investment, you need to measure your return on investment. You're not saving or investing if you cannot measure the return. If you are heading into some sort of venture, or if you're heading into some sort of investment idea, if you cannot measure the return, you are not heading for a good outcome. Definitely not. But the return on investment that I would like to just give a little bit more time today is the one that I'm talking about specifically is for relationships. There are so many people in your life. And if you are somebody that generally cares about people, like we all do, we all want to feel love and or loved and reciprocate with love. But there are people in your life that will just take from you. And it's your responsibility to measure that return. Even if the return is zero, as long as it's never negative, it's your responsibility to know who the people are that are in your life, who you're spending time with. That old saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, is it's not a cliche for nothing. It is so true. And it is something that you need to be very attentive of. Jim Rohn speaks about in the, I think it's the 12 pillars of success. One of them is choosing your friends wisely. You will have many people in your life and you'll know them. You'll see that one person's face right now as I'm speaking. Try and focus on that. Who are the people in your life that are transactional, that are just transactional friends? They show up, they take, and they leave. Those are the people that you want to get rid of immediately. And when I say get rid of, if it's a family member, maybe you can just measure the way that you respond to them in a different way. You don't have to spend so much time with them per se, or you can take their approach to you with a pinch of salt and not let them, deplete you, because a person that has an empty cup cannot be the best version of themselves. You cannot show up to life feeling hopeful and positive if your glass is empty. You need a full glass to fill others. That, in essence, is what real wealth is. If you live a life that you are constantly filling your glass with the six previous principles that I just shared with you, you will always be in a position of power, because you will always be in a place where you can be generous with how you actually share that with other people and how you show up to the world. But if you are constantly in relationships that are giving you negative return, it is not sustainable, and someday you will crack. It is just a matter of time. So this is just, I know that there's a lot of connotation to a financial planner coming to speak, that I'm going to give you a lot of information regarding what's the next investment, what's the next best thing in the markets. Sure, we can definitely have those conversations, guys, and I'm here for that. But before we embark on any of that, I want you to spend time and go back and maybe look at this video and just see what your approach is to life. Because my work as a financial planner, or anybody that you approach as a financial planner, can only do so much. 50%, or I would say way more of the work lies with you, and you need to start taking responsibility of that kind of stuff first, because your relationship with money is very strongly connotated to who you are. And if you don't know who you are, you will not know how to distribute your wealth and your finances. You will constantly make the same mistakes because you are unaware of your blind spots, and you will constantly find yourself in a position of feeling that you are overwhelmed with this burden that money has given to us. It's an addiction. It's something that we all pursue, and we cannot go through life without it. But if you do not know who you are in the midst of that, your wealth or lack of it will become your identity. So that's what I'm trying to just show you. The moment that you realize that you're way wealthier than most people, the moment that you realize that you are a gift to the world and that you need to keep yourself in a healthy space so that you can continuously keep giving, and that your status and how much or where you live and what education you've had and all that kind of stuff is marvelous if you've been able to achieve it. But what you do with it is, in the end of the day, is the real purpose. So that identity must be deeply rooted within yourself, and it's something that you need to pursue for yourself. So yeah, I just want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and taking the time to actually better yourself, or learn more about yourself, or learn more about your finances. We will be doing 2 more of these sessions. They will be completely different. One of them will be Investments 101, and then there will be an approach to how you can do budgeting and so on. I have given you a barcode here that you guys can, if you want to open up your cell phones and your cameras, you'll be able to get all my contact details if you want. You will have access to my direct personal cell phone number on there. Please respect that privacy. If it is, if you have real concerns or questions, you are welcome to use the WhatsApp platform, but please just respect my privacy as well. But you will have access to my office. There's a lot of information on there that you are welcome to go look at, even go look at the LinkedIn profile if you want. But I want to leave you with this. The real measure of our wealth is how much we'd be worth if we lost all our money. And I think that's the question you need to ask yourself today. Thank you so much again.
Thank you
Over
so
to you,
much,
Gillian.
Rudi. We always love your sessions, and I can see that again coming through in the chats. I know you haven't been able to read the chats while you were busy, but I think if I have to go through it, amazing would sum it up perfectly, because I think everybody is amazed by your input today as well. And I think definitely that everyone on here would be reviewing this session to make sure that they are living by those 7 principles. And yes, I agree with Erin saying it's very enlightening, and the members on here will definitely be joining our next 2 sessions, which will also be in Feb. So just make sure to check your emails and RSVP to give yourself enough time and put that in your diary. So Rudi, if you don't mind, I see there was a few questions coming through. I know we will not be able to answer all of them because for some reason the questions never stop when we have your sessions. Everybody wants a little bit of your input into everything. So I'm going to start off with Katlehu's question asking, do you think we can get any meaning of wealth through society?
I think society is the problem, Katleho. I think the society has started teaching us that the more you have, the more you are. The more you gather, the more your status is, the more your opinion matters. I just think that society is only going to give you so much. We definitely need society to form a part of our purpose, but that's how we respond to society. I think if you want to be great, you need to look for wealth in yourself. That is where it really lies. It's how you respond to yourself in your own life.
And thanks, Rudi. Hamna asked if you can just give them a few examples of passive income.
Sure. So, I mean, the obvious passive income types is buying property, it's having an investment, it's having a business, an online business that doesn't really require your time or service or whatever it may be. But that all takes time, guys. Not all of us can go out and buy a house and get tenants in, and not all of us have 5 million rand to invest and then start earning passive income from that. What I was alluding to in the passive income types is it's something that you need to start pursuing. If you're not in that place in your life right now, the passive side of that income is going to be that you're not draining your own energy to create an additional income. It's that you understand that you have a job right now, and some of you might love your job, which means that that's already one passive income, but you need multiple streams of passive income. The starting point would be is how much energy you are extending into starting, creating. That's the passive that I'm talking about. Real passive income, you can go watch so many videos on what passive income is and how to achieve that. But for you to just start today, it's going to really help you to understand that you have a God-given talent, and the way that you show up in pursuing an idea is knowing that if you are so talented and gifted in this particular area, it's going to energize you, and you'll probably end up building it a lot quicker than anyone else. would have. And that's just the starting point. It's to not just conform and saying, but I have a job and it steals so much of my time. I don't have any good ideas. I am not worthy of also starting a company. That's for entrepreneurs. You are all entrepreneurial. You all have gifts and talents. It's about starting. It's about starting small. It's about thinking big, and then just enjoying the process and understanding that you have a responsibility to learn as you grow. That's probably the fundamentals of this. My wife is definitely not entrepreneurial, and she's started 2 companies in the last 2 years, and they are bringing in a significant amount of income into our family. And that's just from her digging deep into herself and believing that there's more for her.
Thanks, Rudi. So there's a lot of questions coming through on investments, and I just want to say to all of the members that we will be having a session regarding this. So I don't think we're going to answer any questions regarding that today. So if you did ask a question, remember to join the next 2 sessions with Rudi. Rudi, one of the questions that come through quite a lot is, for example, if there is no one available in their immediate vicinity that they can go to for that mentorship or scaffolding, what recommendations do you have for maybe resources that they can use to get that?
Sure. The best one for me, and this is available to all of you, especially because you are a part of an esteemed group like the Golden Key, it's called Leaders of Influence. It's a bunch of guys from Holland. They've started, it is a Christian-based organization. So if you have different religious views, we can maybe talk and look at something, another approach for you. But these guys do a 20-year mentorship. They start you off with psychometric testing. You enter into a tribe of people that are similar to you, so that you have a space where you can be vulnerable and actually start learning from these other people that are on the same journey as you, more or less, or completely different, so that you can learn more. But then you get allocated to mentors, which are also part of the program, and you get given a new mentor every 3 years. It's so tough, guys. It's a time sacrifice. Sometimes you have to go and see these people in Cape Town, or you have to drive 2 hours to get to them. But it's absolutely invaluable, and it's something that will serve you significantly. But if you cannot, join a program like that or something, mentorship should be somebody that you can identify in your life that has a set of skills that you desire, or has a life that you desire, or something that you see that you can learn from them. But before you enter into mentorship, I would say that you definitely need to spend some time getting to know yourself, and on that particular self-awareness and self-development. Because if you don't have that, you'll show up to that mentorship program just wanting to receive. A mentorship program is always a two-way street. If you're aware of yourself and aware of your iniquities, and aware of your strengths, you could serve that mentee just as well as they can serve you. And that's the way that you need to show up, regardless of who it is, if it's a friend or a family member, as well. That needs to be the approach.
Thanks, Rudi. And on a similar note, we've had a few questions regarding 2 or 3 books that you recommend that they read, that they can just help them in understanding wealth.
Help them understanding wealth. Sure. The Richest Man in Babylon, that's probably the easiest one to just go and grab on Audible right now. You'll be able to read it in a weekend. That's genuinely just wealth principles. If you're looking on how you can steward your finances correctly, what are the pitfalls, The Richest Man in Babylon is definitely a wonderful book. Then secondly, it's going to be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I always recommend this book. This is a textbook to me. I read this book once a year, definitely. It's a phenomenal book to read. And then one on that's not so particular on finances, but more an approach and pretty much a principle-based thing like we had today, is The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. definitely had a radical viewpoint change. If you're an intellectual and you like deeper stuff on the psychology of humans, I would say 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. If you're not, intellectually inclined and you like big words, or you don't like big words and people that, dissect thoughts, please don't pick that book up. It'll bore you tremendously. But if you are, Jordan Peterson is definitely somebody that you can follow on Instagram and on YouTube. He's got a phenomenal, I think that he will influence you significantly.
Thanks, Rudy. And I think I'm going to ask you our final question so that there are still some left for our next sessions. Um, there was someone that asked, what led you to your first side hustle? Did these 7 points, did you use them when you started your first side hustle?
If I'm going to be completely honest here, and that's what I should be, no, my first side hustle started like anybody else's would. It's just trying to make ends meet and trying to, build a life that, you can pay the bills and pay whatever you need to pay. But it's so fulfilling once you realize that you have so much capability. It's truly just elevated my confidence in who I am as a person and how I affirm myself when I see these things grow. It's one of the reasons why I love gardening so much is that it's progress that you can measure. None of my side businesses, except my financial planning practice that is significant, and I'm truly grateful for that, are things that bring in millions of rands every month. Some of them truly just bring in hundreds of rands, but I can measure that growth and respond to that gratefully, and it's mine. It's something that gives me the ability to have control over and just see things grow. It keeps your mind busy with being creative. It keeps your mind busy with estimating growth and speaking about ideas rather than speaking about what the latest gossip on huisgenoot is or whatever it may be. Your mind becomes consumed with it. So definitely, it's one of the richest things in my life is pursuing this.
Thank you so much, Rudy. Members, if you don't know, Rudy is one of the directors and financial planners at the Wealth Room. You guys can have a look at what they do and their expertise as well. And then we want to thank you, Rudy, once again from Golden Keys side. What you share with us every time we have you online is from your wealth of knowledge, and we love to hear every bit of it. And it gives our members a step ahead of everyone else, just understanding their finances better and being able to better plan for their future.
Yeah.
So I really want to thank you from Golden Key side. We appreciate everything that you do for us. And thank you to all of our participants being online today as well. You're welcome to join us for our next session. Just keep an eye on your emails. And this session will also be broadcasted on our YouTube channel, Golden Key Southern Africa, and it will also be shared with Rudy and them to share on their side. So you guys will be able to get a link or go and rewatch this to make additional notes for yourselves. Thank you very much, everyone, and we appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.